Some guy says, oh, Pulse development's not going good. Pulse development's going great. How many people are using the testnet every day? No problems. Works great. Uniswap front end works. Bridges work. Go.hex.com works. We're running out of things to check off. Like PulseX DAO and release the bridges to public, which could be tomorrow or the day after. And the balances. And that's it. That's it. There's nothing left. It's done. So like the vast majority of everything that needs to be done is done now. Like how much better could it be? Like it's really, really, really good now. So crazy to me. Absolutely crazy to me. People on Twitter are so stupid. When is PulseX dropping? When Pulsechain mainnet launches? Hopefully a month and a half, 2 months. Quick question. Who's going to buy Pulse or PulseX with so much money being sacrificed? Any buyers left? Well, let me think. When Hex launched, there was 20,000 participants or something like that? Can't remember the exact number. 20,000 sounds about right. And then that had Hex do? Did amazingly well. Went up 1,000,000% in 623 days. Under 2 years. When Ethereum launched and people sacrificed I don't know the exact word for it, but they lost their Bitcoin and they got Ethereum at some date in the future. How'd that work out? It worked out well. I can't think of an L1 system that hasn't worked out well. Dogecoin pumped, Bitcoin pumped, Bitcoin Cash didn't pump. That's just been death for a few years now. AVAX pumped, Solana pumped, BNB pumped. It's the main token of BSC. What hasn't pumped? That's an L1. Are there any L1s that didn't pump? No, they've all done great. And a lot of them had crappy crowd sales with venture capitalists and all these different machinations. And like, I can't really think of an instance of an L1 not doing well. At least the ones that we support and use and look at, right? Like it's, so this fantasy that like there's 70,000 people that have participated in the sacrifice phase with extremely strong, apparently the top 10%, somebody did this math and like there's a very heavy power law distribution towards the whales being the majority of the sacrifice, which is that way in everything. Like 42% of all Bitcoin's owned by 2,100 addresses. That's just how it works. So this idea that like, I think that the more people participate in the sacrifice phase, the better the price performance will be. The reason that the prices of these cryptocurrencies, the majority of cryptocurrencies that you've heard about, go up is because of word of mouth. And it's a snowball effect and it's an exponentiality. And the larger the snowball is that you start with, the quicker and larger the exponentiality gets. So I think that the price performance of Pulse and PulseX will be better the more people participate in the sacrifice phase. I think if you try and game that and like starve it and pretend like, oh, I'm gonna get more of a smaller pie instead of less of a larger pie, that you just end up with less. Because if you push this idea to extremes, you could own 100% of a coin that only you know about. It's worth nothing. Or you can own 1% of a coin that everyone knows about, and it's worth billions of dollars. So it's, in my opinion, the best way to on-ramp as many people to the sacrifice phase as you can so that they get their beaks wet, they get addicted to watching the chart, they get addicted to the gains, they tell all their friends, they become part of the cult. If something makes your life better and gives you a peer group and makes you feel important and makes you happy and makes you feel special and fulfills your needs, you should get addicted to it, because by golly, that's the best thing I've heard of. Everything else that's going on in the world kind of sucks. The fact that you could have something so cool available to you is like a miracle. So yeah, I don't think that I don't think anyone that's doing this math of like, oh my God, the price isn't going to pump as hard because there's so much interest. It doesn't make any sense. Because there's been tons of interest in tons of things and they've done very, very well. So like, The only way that you could have less money raised is to have less people interested, and you're going to have less word of mouth, and then you're going to just slow down the snowball. You're going to have a starter snowball to start with. You're going to have a smaller snowball the language, though. You're going to have a smaller snowball to start with. So I think it's just silly. So I think that more people participating now is better for midterm and long-term growth. And then short-term, it's probably also better as long as your time frame is longer than a month. I mean, when Hex had a hard launch phase, and then it had this every day, 1 billion coins is coming out every day. And unless you match it with equal demand on every day, you get a dip. And so, you know, it mirrored the launch mechanics that EOS had, and EOS had the same dip, and then Hex had the same dip. That's why I published the chart in the beginning and told people don't FOMO day one. You probably want to scale in because the launch mechanic is similar to EOS, and look what the EOS chart did. So, you know, we don't have that problem in Pulse and Pulsechain. We don't have 1 billion new coins coming out every day. Pulsechain and PulseX, we don't have that problem. So, like, yeah, even in Hex that had that kind of bad mechanic of hammering a new billion every day, linear, it still went up like crazy after 30 days passed, I think. For people that have missed sacrificing to support freedom of speech, which would have given you free Pulse coins for Pulsechain, you can still sacrifice for freedom of movement and assembly for PulseX, and you know you'll get free PulseX for doing that, and then you'll be able to swap your PulseX for Pulse when mainnet launches, and there'll be a day or two before the bridges launch, and then maybe you'll get a better deal because there's not all that extra economic energy coming in from another chain. Market sets the rate, so we'll see how it goes. But sacrificing for PulseX could be a way to on-ramp you to Pulse. That's my point. How do I feel about Chainlink? I love that Chainlink has sacrificed $3 million of Chainlink to the PulseX.com sacrifice phase. I love to see people sacrificing their Chainlink and getting rid of it to support freedom of assembly and freedom of movement. Two very important concepts, two very important political beliefs to support. Further, maybe they'll enjoy the free PulseX coins that they will receive as people that have been witnessed to do something politically cool. Keep sacrificing them Chainlink, guys. Also, $3 million of SHIB. Thank you, SHIB guys. Very nice of you. In all caps, Mr. M. Kiran says, "What happens when Ether launches cheap transactions in June 2022 with proof of work?" I don't know what you're talking about. I assume you mean Ethereum 2.0, and I assume you mean proof of stake instead of proof of work. Yeah, we've got better features than Ethereum 2 has. Their staking's misdesigned so that you have to have 34 Ethereum minimum, which is currently like $120,000. Well, let's do that math real quick. 3,200 times 34, $109,000. And so it causes massive centralization because no one wants to put in $109,000 to buy themselves a networking admin server admin job and lose their money if they have any downtime. Nobody likes that. So instead what they do is give their keys to somebody else, and then those people steal the money, run off with the money, lose the money, and it's a giant centralizing force in what is supposed to be a decentralized network. Oops. There's already been $100 million lost to that. What else? New software tends to have bugs. So that if you do a whole entirely new code base, you're more likely to have bugs than if you just change some parts of the code base, which is what we've done. Furthermore, Ethereum 2.0 doesn't give you any new free coins at all. But Pulsechain.com gives you the maximum number of free coins ever in the history of mankind. There's never been a larger airdrop of free coins ever in the history of man. Absolutely everybody is going to get tons of free coins. Furthermore, they often never launch the software that they say they're going to launch. For instance, sharding is late by 5 or 6 years, something like that. And the fees don't necessarily have to be cheap. They could also still just be expensive on ETH 2.0. So, buddy, we're going to beat them to market with better software and better features. Pretty cool. I love it when you guys lay up these easy questions for me so I can look more awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. Is a privacy coin on the roadmap? I mean, look, we've already got Tornado Cash coming with the fork. And I think someone has a front end built for it. But the same guy that built the front end for Hexnado is around. So he could probably throw one up for Tornado Cash on Pulsechain too. And that has anonymity. As long as people use it, you need an anonymity set. So, you know, there needs to be a minimum amount of people actually using it for it to provide anonymity features. I hate Ethereum. Give the scenario how Pulsechain usurps Ethereum. All of their users move to Pulsechain instead of like everyone just switches their MetaMask setting to Pulsechain instead of Ethereum. Then they just do all their transactions on Pulsechain. There you go. One button. You click the button, switches the network, you click approve, you're on the new network. Now, you do have to manually add your coins, but maybe one day MetaMask will just do that auto search thing. When you talk about the harvest bot, are you saying liquidity from various exchanges will get taken over to PulseX? Yes. I thought that maybe all the coins on Pulsechain would have only been the airdropped. What? The first part of this question was very smart. The last part I didn't understand. Quite simply, you make a copy paste of Ethereum. You change the proof of work consensus system from proof of work to proof of stake. And then everyone's keys that they have for Ethereum work on the new chain. And all the coins that were on the old chain are on the new chain. And then a harvest bot goes and empties out Uniswap and SushiSwap and maybe 0x and maybe some other things of all their PRC20s by minting PLS out of thin air and trading it for them and then putting it into PulseX. I hope that answers the question. Will gas fees for sending coins back and forth from ETH to Pulse and then Pulse back to ETH be around as costly as just ending a stake on ETH? I think it'll be cheaper than ending a stake. It really depends on how long your stake is, because the fee to ending a stake is directly proportional to how many days it had to do addition to calculate your profit. So, I mean, it depends on how long your end stake would have been. But like, if you have to send to a contract in order to get into the bridge, then you at least are going to incur an ERC20 send fee, unless it's Ethereum itself. But usually that Ethereum gets wrapped into an ERC20 anyway. So you're probably going to end up with an ERC20 send fee worth of gas no matter what, which, you know, we just looked and it was 15 bucks. Let's go look again. 21 bucks now. So since we refreshed the page, now it's $21 to send an ERC20 and $65 to do a Uniswap. So it used to be 50, now it's 65. Okay. All right, Ethereum. So yeah, I mean, look, there's fees to get in and out, but you don't have to get in and out that fast or that often, right? So it's just like going to your bank. You go to your bank, you fill up your wallet, you use your wallet, but you don't go to your bank over and over again. Hey, I need to get a coffee. Let me go to my bank to get money for the coffee. Oh, I want to buy a magazine. I'm going to go to the bank to get money for the magazine. No, you have a place that you transact less, which is your bank, which in this case would kind of be like the bridge. And then you have your, you know, your hot wallet. So you're going to save a lot of money in fees, in my opinion.